Okay, guys, I'm doing it. I'm torturing myself, but I'm doing it right now, guys. I'm reacting to Monster Z. How did Gen Z become far right? Oh my god, I'm about to just turn this off right now. I'm doing this because, as you guys know, I've made a lot of AI slop before and I've regretted it. And I feel like my video content is getting worse and worse, and I feel like I love this. I love making YouTube videos, but I feel like I need to put more passion into this. So we're gonna react into Monster Z. My challenge, our challenge is to not, and I mean this, is to not, it's not to do this over and over again. Okay, here.
Why is Gen Z so far right? It's becoming a more common question, and to some, it might seem obvious, but there's a lot more to the story than meets the eye. Take a walk with the young Gen Zer, or Zoomer if you will, along his political development. The world most Zoomers were brought into was one shaped by the presidencies of Barack Obama, George Bush, and the legacy of Bill Clinton. You're talking about a post Cold War mindset in which we're told the United States is the supreme superpower, the hegemon of the world. We are the greatest state to exist. But why doesn't it feel that way? Whatever the case, it's easy to point fingers at the guys in charge. How royally do you need to screw up for the greatest country on earth to be incapable of providing for its own people? Now, it's not like Zoomers were sold a fantasy by their parents. Zoomers are far and away raised by Gen Xers whose adulthood was defined by the approaching end of or post Cold War period, and their childhood was defined by the turbulent aftermath of the counterculture movement. They experienced firsthand the struggle of shaky family situations, a sense of neglect, rising national debt, offshoring of jobs, dwindling economic opportunities, rising cost of education, you name it. Even housing, while still relatively affordable for this generation, was becoming more slippery. In effect, not just Zoomers, but every generation since the Boomers have lived in their shadows. So
Okay. As much as I was gonna, disagree with this video right now, he's actually making a good point. We'll think about it quick. Before the Gen Z, before the Gen, sorry, before the Gen Z was first created, there was the millennials, there was the boomers, there was millennials, there was the Gen X, then there was the baby boomers, and then the boomers. Before that, the boomers had the best. Because the boomers could buy a house for 5 pennies. The the baby boomers could buy a house for 10 pennies. The gen the the Generation X, it was much more expensive. The millennials, more expensive. The Gen Z, on the other hand, and same for the Gen Alpha, when on as we speak, is much worse. It is much worse for them, and that's absolutely true. We see the rising amount of inflation. We see the rising amount of job markets going off. We see that many people, many college students in this country, they feel like they're disconnected. They feel like they're living in a bubble. They feel like they're living in an alternate universe because they see stuff like Fox News or CNN or the boomer talking about our economy is doing so good. Back in my day, I could buy a house for $10, and at the exact same time, they're like $10. I'd have paid 40,000 fucking dollars for my goddamn student loans. And same for people who go to nice schools like Harvard or Yale. They suffer really badly too. Um, but it's a really it's a damn shame, and it's also something that's radicalizing them deeply and faster and faster.
massive a population emerging in a period of such post-war opulence, that would have been difficult to replicate for future generations, even if they tried to, but they didn't. You saw a mass reaping of the system by the boomer generation,
Yeah,
and none of the sowing, guaranteeing a declining yield
especially
for each
what
subsequent
happened was basically
generation.
was that the boomer generation basically said, "This belongs to us. This belongs to everything that happened after World War II belongs to us." Now, there's also the Center generation people. They are kind of forgotten themselves.
Gen Z
But what happened was the boomers basically said everything belongs to us now. So everything you can imagine, all the benefits, all the 1950s economy, the Civil Rights Act, the Medicare, the Medicaid, the Social Security, they all belong to us. They all belong to us. All of it.
And some millennials, for all intents and purposes, are what the boomers might have been had they not been born into a world of plenty. You have two post-war generations, but where one internalized the mythos of the war and its purpose because society treated him well, the other lashed out against it, because despite being told that they were winners in the greatest country on earth, everything it took to get to that victory felt like it sold them out to achieve it.
100%.
How easy it must have been.
The boomer generation, they were taught freedom. They taught like America number one, America number one, America number one, America number one, yeah, baby. In the Gen Z, they feel like, I mean, what about healthcare? What about education? What about us? Like, it's not just about
For boomers to accept that to fight for freedom, equality, and democracy everywhere in the world was a worthwhile cause, when the society that sold them that message expected nothing of them and gave them everything.
Yeah.
They did not struggle through the Depression, they did not fight in Europe or the Pacific, they bought in with no upfront costs. Oh, but there would be costs. And when the check came due, who was going to pay it? With the Cold War over, young Americans are once again told to buy in. We're so great, aren't we? We destroyed the Soviet Union, and we rule the world. It's time to work toward global unity, freedom, and democracy across the planet. Participate in nation building. Give financial aid to the third world. But what about us? The America that Gen Z was introduced to was one that was so preoccupied with the responsibilities and duties of empire, of global hegemony, that it neglected its own people in the process. It is that neglect that Gen Xers felt at home, brought up to the federal scale. A real feeling that the government and society as a whole was not looking out for the young American. Let's make no mistake, Zoomers do not live in a time of overt hardship. Life, if anything, is easier now than it's ever been. But even this can't mask the fact that this generation has been sold a raw deal. The purpose of a government is to do for its public what they cannot do on their own.
Yep.
To provide for the common welfare. Just because quality of life has improved is no excuse for a government to be negligent. It would be like a parent saying, you have more than I ever did as a child. I don't need to raise you. I don't need to take care of you. I don't need to feed you. Even more insulting, if that parent says, I will not feed you. I will feed them. Any stranger in need. Any child from any foreign town, any foreign land, but not my own. To have that which is yours, that which a parent
I feel like Dean. You know, I'm a Gen Z myself. I understand this point, and I understand the pain and the suffering of, you know, we give all this aid to all these countries, all this and all that money to all these countries, but at the exact same time, there's 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. There's over 30,000 homeless veterans in this country. Jobs being outsourced every day. People are literally losing the right to just speak against, right for free speech to speak against Israel. And you're anti-Semitic, and you said Israel's doing a genocide. That's bad. You're anti-Semitic. Bad. So I do understand. I understand where it comes from, of this suffering that's going on, and this anger that occurs from the Gen Zers. Because I'm a Gen myself. I love this country. I do. I really do. But sometimes I get fucking pissed off at all the shit we do.
Obligated to give to a child that which a government is obligated to provide for its public, for that to be given to complete strangers, and for you to be chastised for complaining. No, the pain felt by Generation Z.
The truth is, not every child gets the chance to go to the movies. In North America alone, more than 20 million kids may never...
Never mind.
By the Zoomers, is not one of strife and struggle greater than those of generations before. We don't need to endure a Great Depression. We don't need to fight a great war. We don't need to labor in the fields. No, the breaking point for the Zoomers is the betrayal of this negligent government. the stab in the back that says the people of every other country in the world deserve America's attention, but not the Americans. That is an insult too great to bear.
You
And
also look at countries like Canada or Mexico or Denmark or Greenland, and you look at those countries, and you know about those countries there, they have like good education, they have universal healthcare, they have universal free education, they have social security for all, they have a lower minimum wage, so workers get paid more. There's gun regulation, there's gun laws. People can say people are treated equally no matter who they are, and so the fuck they want in a country. They can get in trouble, but they don't get in trouble enough. Um, it like everything just feels like in a lot of those, especially in those Nordic countries, social democratic countries, life just seems to be better. Life just seems to be, crime is down, life is quality is happier, people are happier, people just feel nicer. They have universal health care, universal education, more income for the poor. They have, stuff like that. They have a universal basic income.
an arrangement which is purely impractical. Your elected representatives pay lip service to foreign countries and entities and agendas, all the while that which is meant to be promised to you, American jobs, opportunities, homes, services, education, is itself boxed off,
Yep,
made inaccessible, handed out to those who see America not as their home, but as something to exploit.
that's true.
And year after year, the politicians and crusaders who say that they're fighting for you, who make lofty promises of reform and
I mean,
change,
at the
and
exact
care
same
for the American
time,
people.
Z, you do support Trump. Trump literally made promises that he will. I'm gonna bring back America. America first. America first. America first. America first. America first. We got second month to America. At the same time, how much money is he giving to Israel? How much money? $20 billion. Like $20 billion to Israel every day. He's basically threatening to invade Venezuela every second he can. He's talking about Maduro as a secret drug dealer. What the fuck? I mean, it's insane. So you can't talk about these populists. Bro, you supported the biggest fake populace in the entire country.
Sit on their hands and continue the agenda of prioritizing foreign affairs. From the Democratic Party, you hear platitudes of supporting American labor, helping out the worker, providing for the American citizen. And then in the same breath, globalization, foreign aid, protecting democracy abroad. You go to the Republicans. You ask them for help, you ask them for change, you ask them to do something about the plight of the American people. Well, that sounds like socialism to me. What are you, some kind of communist? You want the government to help you out? For years and years and years, you hear that from both sides.
To be honest with
And
you,
it seems like there's no
I
reform
think
in sight.
I think that the American
No solution.
is. Here's what I would say: be American first, but also be like the Nordic countries. Be like Denmark. Be like Norway. Be like Sweden. Be like those countries which have universal healthcare, have free education, and they treat their people. They treat their people fair, and that the government takes care of people no matter what. And they pursue a good education, and jobs are good there, and unemployment rate's good. It's low down there, and inflation's low. That stuff. And also, man your own business and stay in America first.
Times have changed.
Money to
The
countries.
nature of the world has changed. The nature of the United States has changed. And your demands as a human being, as an American, have changed. And if neither party seems to be able to deliver on your needs, you seek alternatives. Anti-government movements, fringe political ideologies, anything different that can offer some little glimmer of salvation. In 2016, the narrative begins to change. You have a mass upset
Oh my
within the
god.
establishments of both
Oh
parties.
my god. Not
While
this.
many are
fucking
critical
shit.
of Trump at first,
Not this.
his
First off,
language, his
Dean,
bravado,
I love you talk about Trump's the anti-establishment. Trump's the guy who's standing up to the establishment. What are you gonna say?
the topics he's touching on, which other politicians have been afraid to.
The world's first titanium nonstick pan. and
I'm
blow
sorry,
your
guys.
hair
This is an
back.
ad.
I'm Mike Pagale, 3 Michelin chef.
It becomes inspiring. Zoomers latch onto this. They want more. They want to see results. They want to see the promises kept. Then, of course, Trump's first administration gets bogged down heavily by rhinos, the Democrats.
Oh my god! Holy, I'm sorry. I know. Okay.
Zoomers latch onto this. They want more. They want to see results. They want to see the promises kept. Then, of course, Trump's first administration gets bogged down heavily by rhinos, the Democrats,
First
the
off,
pandemic.
Dean, or Monzer Z, he's a fake populist. He's not a real populist. Okay, he campaigned about he wouldn't outsource his job. He outsourced his own fucking jobs. Over 200,000 of them. He gave tax cuts, which majority of it went to the rich. You can't talk about how, he's bogged down by rhinos. You know how many campaign promises he made back in 2016? I'm going to do universal health care. I'm going to do an infrastructure act. He didn't do a single one of them. A single one of them. All his biggest accomplishment of all time was giving tax cuts to the rich. He's a fake populist. You also don't call him anti-war when he's given all this money to Israel and he did a fake ceasefire. Okay, don't call him anti-war when his first raid killed an innocent American girl.
And also likely a lack of political experience and infrastructure. How many establishment Republicans probably looked at Trump and thought, this is a blip. This is something that we'll have to ride out, and then go back to status quo. And it might have seemed like that after the 2020 election. 4 years realigned back under the Democrats, talk within the Republican establishment of ditching Trump, of moving away from that movement to go to something a little bit more familiar, something more palatable to the moderates. But the Zoomer voter base was far beyond that. There was no desire to go back to that system which had failed for about 2 decades.
But also, stop acting like Trump's popular Zoomers. He's not. He has a 39% approval rating and 32% approval rating when it comes to Zoomers. I think it's even lower than that. His support for Zoomers, aka Gen Z, is so fucking low that people are sick and tired. Because Trump promised, I'm gonna end the Ukraine war on day one. I'm gonna get inflation down. I'm gonna fight for America first. He's fighting bomb in Venezuela. He's talking about giving money to Israel. His tariffs are causing inflation to go up. Unemployment is skyrocketing. He didn't end any of the wars he promised to end. In fact, there's more wars going on.
Something new had been sparked, and they were going to pursue it. The Zoomers have reached a point of political development to where even Trump himself does not push the envelope enough. There's a desire for more. There's questions of what comes next. What does it really mean to be America first? When you hear people ask, why is Gen Z so far right? It's a bit of a loaded question. Socially, Gen Z has moved to the right pretty significantly. But is it out of place?
Yeah, probably the far right, though. But it's the far right are basically fucking wrong on basically 90% of issues. The idea of far right is like more moderate, more progressive than the fucking more populist. No! Not at all! The far right is basically like it still supports tax cuts for the rich. It still supports shit like deregulation of the government. It still supports, getting rid of universal. It still supports of getting rid of universal weight of healthcare, getting rid of all these healthcare programs, and just you gotta be white. It like, come on, like personally, I would be
necessarily far right. Relative to the social standards of the last half century, maybe. But ideas of American sovereignty, ideas of American self-sufficiency, of prioritizing the domestic population over foreigners, of simply enforcing law and order to keep the citizenry safe, such policy is nothing out of the ordinary. It's common sense. Perhaps the idealistic world shaped by the boomers had space for these lofty ideas of open borders, permissive law enforcement, This self-destructive altruism the United States seems to feel
What
as
the
a
fuck
country.
are you talking
But
about?
these idealisms are clashing
What the fuck are you
hard
talking
with
about?
reality.
There is no. Never mind. An open border. An open fucking border. Open borders. Open borders. Open borders. Open. This is the whole fucking fake ass fucking podcaster lie of the Democrats support open borders, the Republicans support open borders, the far right supports closed borders. No fucking presidential candidate in U.S. history has ever said, I want open borders for everyone. They say, I want equal rights for borders for everyone. And also, if you come about how bad America is, which I understand is a big problem, don't go to fucking Russia. Go to Denmark. Go to Sweden. Go to Germany. Go to I don't know, fucking
And Zoomers,
Norway.
this generation is saying enough. No more. Back to basics. Back to common sense. And the irony when you describe Gen Z as far right is if we consider things from an economic perspective, Gen Z is far more economically left-wing than any recent previous generation.
That is true. That actually is true. That actually is true. The majority of Gen Z, including myself, we see how bad the economy is. We see how bad everything is. We're sick and tired of the old ways, the old system of get back to work where you belong, or seeing job being outsourced, or seeing people who work their ass off but they don't have insurance, not get healthcare and die. We see examples of hundreds of college students that are deported because they speak against Israel. We see examples of these college students who work their ass off, but they can't even pay for their student loans because it costs over $30,000. So majority of Gen Zers, we support a $15. We support higher minimum wage. We do support universal health care. We support a universal free college for everyone, not just one, just for everyone on planet Earth, for everyone in America. We also support universal basic income, lower universal basic income, more rights when it comes to unions, when it comes to people, type of stuff. And that's true because there's a lot of those Denmark countries like Norway and a lot of those democratic socialist countries, they have universal healthcare. They have universal education. They have $15 minimum wage. They have all this good stuff that you can imagine. The people there are happy. The crime rate's low. The prison system is not corrupt. It's not evil, and everything is just nice there. Versus America, which is just all full of all this dust and all this bad stuff.
Sure, Zoomers want law and order, they want secure borders, but they also want a government that stops sitting on its hands, that permits this laissez-faire attitude which allows corporations and foreign entities to exploit American citizens, American workers, American resources, to buy up our land, to buy up our housing, to ship our jobs overseas, to import more cheap foreign labor to replace us. The people of the United States should never be placed second to profits. This very individualistic mindset that's been permitted to grow and fester for decades, which would sell out the whole of the country for the profit of one individual, that would allow the wealthy elite establishment to continue growing and consolidating their power, while the remaining majority of
Trump is a part of the establishment. Don't act like he's not. He's a part of the establishment. He is. He is the Trump is the establishment. He always will be, and he always will be. He may say, "I'm not the establishment. I'm against the establishment." He is the establishment.
America struggles. It's very apparent in the younger generations where the divide lies. It's less a divide and a difference of prioritization. Young right-wingers of this generation prioritize the social aspect of things. The border, law enforcement. The left of this generation prioritize the economic.
Oh, definitely.
But where they align and where they differ from those before them is they want a government which puts Americans first,
I
a country
I
and
would
government
I
which
would want to be
provides and
leftist
cares
on
for its
I don't give a
citizenry,
shit about
an
socialism. What the fuck I
activist
care?
state
Why?
that fulfills the duties
Oh,
that we
somebody's
would
gay.
expect
Okay,
from the
that's
greatest
no
country
deal.
on earth,
Somebody's
that we would
trans.
expect from a
I
superpower,
don't give a shit.
that we would expect from the United States
What
of
about me?
America.
What about healthcare? What about
And
wages?
Generation Z is tired
That's
of
what I
playing the
care
games,
about.
of conforming to the norms of the generations from before, to their social niceties, to their political traditions and customs. Generation Z wants results. Generation Z wants change. Generation Z, by its definition, is radical. It is intolerant of the status quo and demands the simple fulfillment that is the promise of American life. Thank you all for watching. This has been Mr. Z. Like the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more.
Okay, Mr. Z. Okay, Mr. Z. First off, you were like 40%. You were like 40% correct, 60% wrong. Okay, we know damn well you're still gonna meet right Trump about. You're gonna talk about, oh, the Trump's America first, bro. Trump's America first, bro. Trump America first, bro. Trump America first, bro. What the fuck is it? Take Canada already. Greater Alaska. Why U.S. should annex Greenland and oh hell no, no. I'm gonna get to that video tomorrow. But why? Just, oh my God, I can't do this. I can't.